Imagine this. A white woman looks at a black man and says, "Fix this car and I'll marry you." Now, pause. That's not the start of a rom-com. That's the kind of line that belongs on a reality show called Love and Engine Trouble. But what happened next? Oh, it didn't just shock her. It rewrote the script on love, hustle, and the power of proving folks wrong. It started as a joke. You know the type. Those throwaway comments people make when they think nothing's at stake. Like when somebody says, "If you beat me at Uno, I'll give you my Netflix password." Cute, funny, and absolutely not binding in the court of law. But this wasn't about Netflix. This was about a car. A busted, tired, pray before you start it kind of car. And the woman behind the wheel thought she was just being clever when she said, "If you can fix this car, I'll marry you." Now, let's pause right there. Because for her, it was a punchline. For him, oh, this wasn't comedy hour. This was a test. And black folks know something about tests. Life has a way of handing them out daily, sometimes hourly. From classrooms where teachers assume less, to workplaces where you got to do twice as much just to be seen as equal, to neighborhoods where opportunity comes with more locks than doors. Every test isn't just about the thing itself. It's about proving worth, ability, dignity. So when she said those words, she didn't realize she had just thrown down more than a playful dare. She had tapped into a tradition older than both of them, the art of turning struggle into opportunity. Black history is full of folks who took broken pieces and turned them into masterpieces. Fixing lives, fixing communities, fixing a whole identity after centuries of people trying to strip it away. So yeah, a broken down car. That wasn't just an engine issue. It was a metaphor waiting to be rewritten. And let's be real, this wasn't just about car parts. This was about perception. Because here's the thing. People love to underestimate. They'll size you up based on skin, speech, or style and assume they've already got the ending to your story. She thought it was all in good fun, but underneath, that comment carried weight. Can you really do it? Are you really capable? And for a black man, those aren't hypothetical questions. They're daily battles. He didn't hear her challenge as a joke. He heard it as the same song life's been playing on loop since day one. Show me what you've got. Prove you're more than what I think you are. And instead of dodging it, he leaned in. Not with anger, not with complaint, but with action. Because sometimes the most powerful clapback doesn't come with words. It comes with results. And that's the beauty here. While she saw a broken car, he saw a chance. A chance to flip the script. To not just patch up a vehicle, but to patch up the perception that said he couldn't, he wouldn't, he wasn't. Because when black folks step up, we don't just fix what's broken, we rebuild. Stronger, smarter, sharper. We take what was written off and bring it roaring back to life. But here's the thing. Fixing a car is one thing. Fixing perceptions, that's a whole different level. And this man was about to do both. Everybody's got that one uncle. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. The man who can fix anything with duct tape, a butter knife, and 2 well-placed cuss words. The kind of uncle who makes AutoZone employees nervous because he walks in, buys one part, and somehow rebuilds a whole car like it's Lego. Yeah, that energy. That was in full effect here. No fancy shop, no chrome-plated toolbox that looks like it came out of a Snap-on catalog. Nope. This was pure hood mechanic vibes. The kind of repair that happens in driveways, on curbs, and sometimes, if the landlord ain't watching, right on the sidewalk. And you know what? That kind of mechanic energy hits different. Because when you don't have access to luxury tools, you develop the most powerful one of all, creativity. See, a hood mechanic doesn't need a $5,000 scanner. He can diagnose a car problem by listening to it cough like an old man with asthma. Hood mechanics don't Google solutions. They are the solution. They don't follow manuals. They follow instincts. And when your back's against the wall, instinct is the one thing that doesn't break. So when this brother popped the hood, it wasn't just metal and wires. It was a challenge calling his name. Every busted part was basically saying, bet you can't fix me. And he looked back like, watch me. That's the black hustle spirit in a nutshell. We've been fixing broken systems, broken promises, and broken expectations for centuries. So yeah, a busted alternator. That's just Tuesday. And let's talk about grease for a second. Because grease ain't just grime, it's glory. When you're elbow deep in oil, people see mess. But under that mess is pride. It's proof you didn't quit. Proof you got your hands dirty when everybody else stood back looking confused. Grease is like a badge of honor, a war medal for folks who know how to turn impossible into already done. That's why this scene was bigger than fixing a car. It was about reclaiming dignity. Every twist of the wrench wasn't just tightening bolts, it was loosening stereotypes. Every spark of that engine was a spark against doubt. And let's be honest, the hood mechanic aesthetic, it comes with swagger. Because nothing builds confidence like making something broken come back to life with your bare hands. It's the same confidence that's built when black folks turn broken homes into thriving families, when we flip pennies into businesses, when we grind with no blueprint and still build skyscrapers of success. Hood mechanic energy is survival energy. It's resourcefulness, resilience, and raw intelligence, dressed up in sweat and socket wrenches. So while she saw a man in a driveway, he was really a surgeon in a street clinic, operating on an engine with nothing but grit and genius. And that car? It was about to roll off not just repaired, but resurrected. And speaking of pride, guess what he fixed next? Not under the hood, under the heart. Here's the part she didn't expect. Because for her, this was just about horsepower and hood hinges. You know, man versus machine. Could he make the engine purr again? Or would it stay coughing like a lifelong smoker in winter? But what she didn't realize was this. Fixing that car wasn't just mechanical. It was personal. See, anybody can slap a jumper cable on a dead battery and call it a miracle. But real fixing, that takes patience. It takes sitting with a problem longer than feels comfortable. It takes consistency, coming back to the same stubborn bolt that won't budge until finally, after the right pressure and the right persistence, it gives. That's not just mechanics. That's life. That's relationships. That's survival. And here's where it gets deeper. Because under all the grease and gears, what he was really showing was brains. The kind of intelligence people don't always give credit for. It's easy to spot genius in a lab coat scribbling formulas on a whiteboard. It's harder for folks to recognize it in a man diagnosing an engine by ear, improvising with tools and solving complex problems on the fly. But let's be honest. What is engineering except problem solving under pressure? And black folks have been doing that since day one, often without recognition, often without resources. So when she saw him at work, this wasn't just a fix. This was a crash course in underestimated brilliance. The kind you don't learn in Ivy League halls but in garages, in backyards, in the middle of figure it out or walk home. Brilliance born out of necessity. And necessity, as we all know, is the hood's most loyal teacher. Now here's the kicker. Patience, consistency, and brains. That combo is rarer than a mechanic who gives you an honest quote. You know what I mean? Those ones who look at your car, tap the hood twice, and somehow your $50 oil change turned into a $700 mystery bill. But here was this brother, showing not just technical skill but emotional control. No frustration, no shortcuts, no storming off in defeat. Just steady hands, sharp mind, and a calm that said, I've done harder things than this. And that's what she didn't see coming. Because while she thought this was about a car, what he was showing her was character. The kind of qualities that make a partner reliable, resilient, and trustworthy. The kind of qualities you can't fake under pressure. Because let's face it, if somebody can stay patient with a stripped screw or a jammed spark plug, imagine the patience they'll show when life throws bigger challenges. This is where the story stopped being about pistons and started being about people. Because sometimes the real test isn't whether you can fix the metal, it's whether you can rise above the doubt, the stereotype, and the pressure to quit. And in that moment, every turn of the wrench was a statement. I am capable. I am consistent. I am more than what you thought. But wait, don't grab your tissues just yet, because this story's about to hit another gear. Let's talk about the hustle. Because if there's one thing black men have mastered for centuries, it's the art of flipping struggle into survival, and survival into success. Some people inherit wealth, trust funds, or cozy family businesses. Others? We inherit the struggle. Broken systems, broken promises, and just enough resources to make making it look impossible. But here's the twist. Impossible has always been the starting point. Fixing that car wasn't just about an alternator or a starter, it was a metaphor on four wheels. See, while some folks start life with safety nets, black men are often handed trapeze ropes with no net underneath. Every step, every risk, every leap, it's either land it or lose it. So when life hands us a busted down engine, we don't panic. We improvise. We make $1 out of 15 cents. And let's be real, that's a skill money can't buy. Think about it. History is full of stories where black men took the scraps we were given and flipped them into gold. From turning discarded wood into instruments that birthed jazz, to flipping hand-me-down wisdom into civil rights movements, to creating culture where the world thought there was only chaos. This hustle DNA runs deep. That car wasn't just another challenge, it was another reminder that struggle is a classroom, and we've been straight-A students in it for generations. And here's the beauty of it. Skill born from struggle hits different. Anybody can succeed with a trust fund, connections, and a head start. But when you've been grinding with no cushion, no backup, and no bailouts, every success is amplified. It's sharper, it's louder, it's undeniable. That's why watching him fix that car wasn't just impressive, it was revolutionary. Because he wasn't just repairing metal, he was showing her a whole mindset. This wasn't, let me see if I can fix it. This was, I will fix it because quitting isn't an option. That's the essence of black struggle energy. Resilience that doesn't fold. Creativity that doesn't quit. And brilliance that doesn't wait for permission to shine. He wasn't just tightening bolts, he was tightening up a narrative that said black men were only muscle, never mind, never strategy. And the flex? Oh, the flex was beautiful. Because making that car run again wasn't about impressing her, it was about proving to himself and everyone watching that he could take brokenness and turn it into movement. That's legacy work. That's what happens when survival isn't just about getting by, but about thriving in spite of the odds. So yes, some inherit wealth, others inherit struggle. But when you can flip struggle into skill, when you can turn every no into a new strategy, when you can make something out of nothing and still stand tall, that's the kind of flex that money, privilege, and inheritance will never be able to touch. And when he flexed, oh, she started seeing him in a whole new light. Let's be honest. She didn't expect him to pull it off. Not even close. In her mind, this was supposed to be one of those cute challenges that ends in a laugh and maybe a call to LAA. She pictured him sweating a little, fumbling with tools, maybe even pulling out his phone to Google how to fix a car when you don't actually know how. She thought he'd quit halfway, blame the heat, throw his hands up and say, well, I tried. But that's where the shock factor slid in. Smooth and unbothered, like a Sunday morning choir note. Because instead of folding, he rolled up his sleeves. Instead of excuses, he brought execution. And that car? It rolled out smooth, like butter on hot cornbread. Not only was the engine alive again, but it was humming with confidence. And that sound wasn't just mechanical, it was symbolic. See the look on her face in that moment? priceless. You know that universal expression of, oh snap, I underestimated you. Yeah, that one. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, brain scrambling to process how reality just made a U-turn. That's the look people get when their stereotypes crash headfirst into undeniable evidence. It's the face of a perception check. Because here's the truth. Underestimation has been the background music of Black struggle for centuries. People assuming you can't, you won't, or you shouldn't. And when you flip that narrative with undeniable results, whew, that's more satisfying than any victory lap. It's a win not just for him, but for every brother who's ever been side-eyed, doubted, or written off before they even had a chance to try. The shock factor matters because it doesn't just rewrite one moment. It rewrites memory. Every time she thinks about that car, she's going to remember how wrong she was. Every time she looks at him, she'll see more than she thought was there. And that's transformation. Because sometimes the loudest statement you can make isn't a clapback, it's competence, it's success, it's proving them wrong without ever breaking a sweat. And let's not overlook the poetic beauty here. Cars are supposed to move, right? That's their purpose. But for a while, hers sat broken, stuck, useless. Sound familiar? How many times have Black men been treated the same way, like they're not meant to move forward, like they're stuck? And yet, just like that car, when given the right hands and the right determination, forward motion is not only possible, it's inevitable. So yeah, her shock wasn't just about the car being fixed, it was about her worldview being fixed. Because in that moment, he didn't just prove her wrong, he proved something bigger right. That resilience and skill will always rise to the surface, no matter how much doubt tries to drown it. But here's where it really gets juicy, because this wasn't just about proving her wrong. Now, let's rewind to that wild statement she made in the beginning. If you can fix this car, I'll marry you. At the time, that was banter, a throwaway line, the kind of thing people say when they think they'll never actually have to follow through. Like, if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, I'll shave my head. Yeah, right. Nobody's planning on buying clippers. So, was she joking? Probably. But then came the twist. Because when you watch a man turn busted metal into something that moves smoother than Beyoncé on stage, you start reconsidering your life choices. All of a sudden, marriage didn't sound like such a wild idea anymore. Why? Because competence is attractive, skill is magnetic, and resilience, that's the ultimate green flag. Let's be real, talk is cheap. Anybody can promise the moon and hand you a flashlight. But action is priceless. And here was a man who didn't just talk big, he delivered big. She didn't see a broken car come back to life, she saw reliability in human form. That's rare in a world where people ghost after 2 texts. And here's the kicker. What started as a joke suddenly carried weight. Because deep down, marriage isn't about flowers, rings, or hashtags. It's about trust. Can I count on you when things fall apart? Can I lean on you when life breaks down? Can you fix what's broken, not just in cars, but in commitment, in patience, in life? By proving he could fix what others would have thrown away, he low-key auditioned for something bigger, the role of a partner. Now, don't get it twisted. This isn't about a car magically unlocking romance like some Disney spell, it's about perception. Before, she may have seen him as just another man. But after, she saw proof of character. Proof that when faced with a challenge, he doesn't fold, he figures it out. That's not just husband energy, that's life partner energy. And you can't ignore the symbolism here. Cars carry people forward. They're about direction, journey, progress. A broken car means stuck, stalled, stranded. But a fixed car? That's movement, growth, possibility. In that moment, it wasn't just the car he set in motion, it was her imagination. Suddenly she wasn't laughing about marriage. She was picturing what life with a man like that might actually look like. That's how fast things shift when you witness resilience up close. Because love stories don't always start with candlelight dinners and violins. Sometimes they start with jumper cables, sweat, and the sound of an engine roaring back to life. And in that driveway, marriage went from a joke to a possibility. All because he showed that he wasn't just a fixer of metal, he was a builder of trust. And if you think the story ends with a ring, oh no, it goes deeper. By now you probably realize this story isn't really about her. It's not even about the car. And honestly, it's not even about the marriage. Nope. This story's about something much bigger: recognition. Because here's the hard truth. Black men have always had to prove they're more than the stereotype, more than the punchline. Too often, the world tries to shrink them into one-dimensional roles. The athlete, the entertainer, the threat, the statistic, rarely the genius, rarely the builder, rarely the problem solver who can take chaos and calmly engineer order. But right there, in one dusty driveway, one man flipped that script. And the wild part? He didn't even need a speech. His hands, his patience, and his results did the talking. Think about it. Stereotypes are loud. They scream at us from TV screens, from headlines, from classrooms, from job interviews, from those casual conversations where bias slips out dressed up as just joking. But truth? Truth doesn't need to scream. It doesn't even need a microphone. Truth just needs consistency. One action, repeated again and again, can drown out years of lies. That's exactly what happened here. A car got fixed, yes, but what really got tuned up was a perception that had been running on fumes. See? She thought it would be impossible. She thought this man was all talk, no talk. But when the car roared back to life, she didn't just see an engine running. She saw her assumptions stalling. That's the thing about doubt. It can only live until reality checks it. And in that moment, she was forced to recognize something she hadn't given him credit for: capability, reliability, brilliance. Not because he bragged, not because he argued, simply because he delivered. And showing always hits harder than telling. Now, let's zoom out. This wasn't just about one woman's assumptions. This driveway scene represents something bigger: the ongoing grind where black men are forced to over-deliver in spaces where others get the benefit of the doubt. Where some folks are assumed competent until they mess up. Black men are assumed incompetent until they overachieve. That's not a level playing field. It's a treadmill set to uphill. And it's exhausting. But here's the flip side. That constant pressure breeds a resilience so tough that when the win finally comes, it shines brighter than stadium lights. And here's what makes this particular win beautiful. It wasn't performative. He wasn't out here trying to stage a movie moment, trying to flex for clout. He was just doing what needed to be done. But in doing it, he revealed a truth much larger than himself. That black excellence isn't rare. It's just too often ignored. So no, this wasn't about a dare or a joke or a marriage deal. It was about rewriting the narrative in real time. It was about saying, through every twist of the wrench, I am more than your assumptions. I am more than your jokes. I am more than the box you tried to put me in. And that's the bigger picture. Because sometimes the loudest revolutions don't happen in streets with megaphones. They happen quietly, in driveways, with grease-stained hands and engines roaring back to life. But hey, before you think this is just an inspirational TED Talk with motor oil, let's throw in some humor. Because honestly, fixing her car might have been the easy part. Cars, for all their complexity, are still logical machines. You turn the wrench the right way, swap out the right part, tighten a few bolts, and boom, it works. But try fixing her Wi-Fi. That's a whole different ballgame. Try explaining to her uncle at Thanksgiving that not every black man fits into the box he's already built in his head. Now that's harder than rebuilding an engine from scratch. Engines are predictable. People, not so much. And that's where the real twist came in. See, the car humming back to life wasn't the surprise. The surprise was her respect shifting gears. One moment she looked at him like a punchline. The next, she was staring like he'd just performed open-heart surgery in her driveway. That change, going from zero respect to full admiration, happened faster than that car's speedometer could climb. Because here's the truth. A lot of folks don't expect black men to be problem solvers in ways that don't fit stereotypes. They expect strength, sure, maybe athleticism, maybe swagger, but patience, technical brilliance, quiet confidence that doesn't need applause, that part still shocks people. And when she saw it, her jaw dropped in real time. Now, let's be clear. This wasn't just about one woman suddenly realizing she underestimated somebody. This was a reflection of something bigger. How quickly perceptions can change when they're forced to. Respect doesn't trickle in. It can flood the room in an instant when someone's assumptions collapse under the weight of truth. And the wildest part? He didn't have to perform. He didn't shout, "See what I can do?" He didn't demand recognition. He just rolled up his sleeves and got to work. The car roared back to life, and without him even trying, so did her awareness. Here's the kicker, though. Respect born in shock isn't always stable. A car can keep running smoothly if you maintain it. But people, they can backslide. Prejudice doesn't vanish overnight. What this moment showed her was possibility. But what it showed us, the audience watching this story unfold, is resilience. The kind of resilience where you don't just wait for respect, you earn it repeatedly, until there's no room left for doubt. And maybe that's the real plot twist. Not that he fixed her car. Not even that she reconsidered him in that moment. The real twist is how stories like this flip expectations on their head. They remind us that respect doesn't always start in the right place, but it can end there. All it takes is one undeniable act, one moment of truth that forces someone to look again. So, yeah, he fixed the car. But what he really fixed was the lens she'd been looking through. And sometimes, that's the hardest repair job of all. And speaking of speed, let's hit the gas and see how this story leaves us all with a lesson. Alright, so let's put it in drive and cruise into the real heart of this story. Because as much fun as it is to talk about grease, busted engines, and shocked facial expressions, this isn't just about a car. Nah, this is about something far deeper. What it really means to flip struggle into strength and doubt into dignity. The lesson? Simple, but not easy. Sometimes the biggest victories don't happen under stadium lights, in boardrooms, or on Instagram with a highlight reel. They happen in the quiet places, in the driveways, in the workshops, in the moments when no one's clapping, but the universe is watching. That's where real transformation takes place. See, fixing that car was more than proving her wrong. It was proving himself right. It was about standing in the face of low expectations and saying, without ever opening his mouth, "Watch me work." That's a philosophy black folks have carried for generations. From the grandmother who stretched one meal into 3, to the father who worked 2 jobs and still made it to the game, to the student who studied twice as hard just to be seen as average. This is a tradition of resilience wrapped in excellence. And here's the kicker. The lesson isn't just for him or for her, it's for us. Because too often, we wait for somebody else to validate us. We wait for the claps, the compliments, the permission slips. But what this story shows, validation ain't required. Proof is in the doing. Respect comes after the fact, but belief starts within. Think about it. She gave him a bet she never thought he'd take seriously. He took it seriously anyway. That's the kind of mindset shift we all need. Because half the time, people will set low bars for you, just to see if you'll trip over them. The real win is not just clearing the bar, it's raising it, resetting the whole game so they never underestimate you again. And the beauty of it all. This wasn't a Hollywood script. This wasn't a staged moment for likes or clout. This was raw, everyday life. And it proves something critical. Greatness doesn't need a stage. It just needs an opportunity. So, what's the lesson? Don't wait for people to hand you respect. Create the moment where they have no choice but to give it. Don't waste energy arguing with folks about your worth. Show them. Prove it in the quiet, greasy, overlooked spaces. Because sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen without banners or speeches. They happen in actions that echo louder than words ever could. And let's keep it real. One man fixing one car might not change the world, but it changes his world. It changes her world. And if enough of us start flipping narratives like that, it starts changing the world. One engine, one action, one moment at a time. So, here's the deal. Don't just watch this story, live it. Flip your own script. And if you're vibing with this energy, hit that like, drop a comment, and share this with somebody who needs a reminder that doubt is just the starting line. Because respect, that's waiting at the finish. At the end of the day, fixing a car didn't just shock a woman. It reminded everyone watching that black struggle breeds black brilliance. That what looks like a dare can turn into destiny. That sometimes the story isn't about marriage, it's about mastery. So, what do we take from this? Never underestimate grit. Never downplay skill, and definitely don't make bets you can't back up, because you just might end up with a husband. If you loved this story of hustle, heart, and horsepower, smash that like button, subscribe for more unapologetic storytelling, and drop a comment. What's the wildest challenge you've ever turned into a win? See you next time, same energy, new story.